So what do you have in store for us today?
Well, ideally we should be finishing working on your goal about driving because that's what we started with. When I start with someone working on a goal, then we work until we finish. So we had two sessions. The last one was actually in February, so that's a kind of an unusual break, but it sometimes happens that way.
Life happens. That's right.
And, people still get the benefits of whatever we were working on. Your goal is to stay calm and composed while you're driving.
Hmm.
And in the last session, we worked on creating more brain pathways for giving drivers more room so you have time to deal with unpredictable behavior. And the emotional issue was I am a master of myself and my reactions. So, what have you observed since then on that topic and also in general?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed all that. As for the driving, yeah, there was a driver. So when you turn onto my road, there's two turn lanes, and there's a left and a right turn lane, both going left. And someone was in the right-hand turn lane going left, and they cut across in front of me and went into the left lane. My reaction was definitely not bad. Obviously, I was, giving space for drivers. That's not, we were sitting at a stoplight for 2 minutes before we went. So we were both going from a dead stop. So the spacing was kind of, I'm not going to sit there for a minute waiting for them to go just for me to have that gap. So it was a unique circumstance, but I definitely didn't react like I would have in the past. It was definitely very mild. I was more of a agitation, uh, a quick little blare with the horn, and they kind of course corrected and then just took over my lane anyway. But I did notice that I was not triggered as I was.
Hmm.
And then what was the second question again?
Well, essentially, it was about driving and what else has been happening in your life. Because I think one of the things that we addressed, even though the goal turned out to be a driving, but you were also initially talking about some consequences of having a head trauma.
Yeah,
See any
definitely.
difference in that?
Do what?
Do you see any difference in that, in what used to be your usual reactions related to, as a result of having the head trauma?
Yeah, definitely trying to take things slower, taking things more methodically, and thinking about things before. One of the problems that I had was pretty much just like word vomit, right? I wasn't able to find the right words, but then it would just come out as word vomit. So yeah, I've definitely been taking in considerations. Like I'll give you an example. I'm currently on the HOA right now in my subdivision, and there's two other people with me, and they're being a little unreasonable about, because our voting period is about to come up, and they're being a little unreasonable about what's going to transpire. And I've been thinking about this for a few days, and I haven't said anything to anyone yet. Instead of just going in and saying, hey, this is what we need to do, blah blah blah, I've let them say all their piece, and I'm taking things into consideration. And I think I've come up with the conclusion that this year I'm going to step down and let them handle it, because the way we see things is completely different. They are a little bit older than me, and they are a little more set in their ways than me. And that's fine. They're allowed to do that, but I know I can only control myself. And in order for me to get away from what they want all the time and the way that they're handling things, I can, I can step back. I feel like I can do a lot of good for my community. I've already implemented several things and gotten the entire neighborhood discounts on several things, but at this point, it's just not worth it for me to move forward with what's going on. And if the neighborhood as a collective, when we have our meeting, says otherwise, then things might be different. But I've thought about several scenarios. I like the people on the HOA. They are good friends. I'm not ecstatic that I have to work with them because they're a little rigid, but it's part of the job, right? Like we're going to meet people all throughout life that have opposing views. They don't want to change them. They don't want to see the other side. They just want what they want, essentially. So yeah, I've noticed that I've been seeing more of that lately, and because of the boundaries that I've been setting up for myself, I'm able to, kind of think things through and then either withdraw or continue forward.
Okay, good for you. So that is because head trauma very often interferes, essentially like what you were describing in the beginning, interferes with logic. The left brain gets either shut down or doesn't have as much connection as it needs to have. So then the spontaneous emotional reaction takes over, and that is not always beneficial, like what you were describing. So
Right.
it sounds like the brain functions are more balanced because you can have your feelings, but you are also able to take your time and use more rational approach, which is essentially also the emotional issue on that last exercise we did, to be master of yourself and your reactions, and that's what you essentially are doing.
Yeah. It's been very cool.
So let me write down a couple of things that you were saying. You can do the usual thing we start with. So start with your self-hug with crossing your ankles and then doing this.
Okay.
So this is a self-hug. So close your eyes, gently touch the tongue behind your upper teeth, and take about a minute or so to do that. Okay, you can complete that and cross your feet, touch your fingertips together, and take another moment to sit like that. Continue to keep your eyes closed for a moment and touch the tongue behind your upper teeth. Okay, so you can stop that. And let's do the other exercise we do as a preparation, which is the crossover exercise, which we do in 3 directions. So you can stand up.
Oh, okay.
And we do this one first. Then we do a similar thing, but behind your back. So you touch the heel behind, opposite heel behind your back. So again, as a reminder, the reason why we do this is because the brain hemispheres control the body movement crosswise. So your right brain controls the left side of the body, and the left brain controls the right side of the body. So when you use opposite arm and leg, you are automatically stimulating the brain hemispheres connecting and working together, and they disconnect under stress. So when we are under any kind of stress, one of the first things that happens is that they stop working together.
Okay. So
So
what's the purpose of doing in front and then behind?
It's just using different muscles and also engaging the 3 dimensions, because we function in our Western culture, we usually use the front back dimensions, everything is going forward, but the brain and body actually function in 3 directions. So right, left, up, down, and front, back. So the back is also the same as front, except you are using the back and you are engaging different muscles. So that sends different messages to your brain. And we also do side to side, which is a movement that we don't often use, but opposite arm and leg, but it's also beneficial. And it, again, allows you to activate muscles that are not often used in that connection. This movement comes up for everybody now that I work with, and I was wondering why, because even if they have done other movements, this one comes up again. And my current interpretation is that this also activates one of the developmental cycles of movement, which is the difference between center and periphery. So we don't often activate that or use that, but when you are an infant, you learn how to expand your movement and first going from the center to expanding into the periphery, and you learn the difference between what it means to be in the center and what it means to be extended. And then we often don't use that in this dimension. So I think that it also wakes up the brain circuitry that's related to that developmental stage.
Yeah.
It has some kind of impact on how we function currently.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just think of babies doing similar motions, right? Like
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you can also drink some water. This is one of the things we test. So first I'm testing myself.
Okay.
So this is what I do to test for water. That's balanced. Then we test, this is a test for whether we've done enough self-hug, and it should switch off going down, switch on going up. That's balanced for me. Then we test for master energy switches, which I didn't really explain because it's usually switched on. And this is for cross crawl. So I'm in balance. So now I'm establishing responses for yes or no. Let's have a yes and a no. We can go back to surrogating for Brent. So now when I test my leg muscle, I'm connected to you energy-wise, and I can get responses from your system. So I'm testing for water, that's balanced. Self-hug is balanced. Energy switches are balanced, and cross-crawl is not. So let's see what makes it strong. Front, no. Back, no. Side to side. So we need to do just like everybody who works with me now has to do from side to side. So let's do that.
I can feel it right here in my hip flexors. I was like, anything but that one. Anything. I'll do any of them except for this one. But of course.
Right. So let's do some more of that.
That's interesting that this one keeps coming up though.
Yes, it comes up for everybody. And the only thing I can think of is what I just told you, which is perhaps it's related to this developmental movement stage. And if it has some other significance, hopefully I'll come up with sometime later and I'll tell you. But in the meantime, while we do this, a friend asked me, how is it possible to surrogate with someone over distance? And because it's kind of puzzling when you watch that on the video. So my current explanation is it's kind of having like a tech remotely control your computer. All they need to do is get your password to your computer, and it doesn't matter where they are, but they can work on your computer. So this is what I do. By establishing this verbal and non-verbal surrogating, you can stop. It's kind of like you're giving me a password to your system, and at the same time, you get a password to my system. So your system can read my files and select which file from my system will be beneficial to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense when you realize that everything is energy and we're all connected through that. That was a really good analogy. I really like that. The IT person hacking in, right? It's like when you get a feeling, you're like, oh no, I need to call mom or dad or my brother or my sister, and you call them and they're like, oh my God, I was just in a car accident, but I'm okay. And you're like, you're just connected, right? It's that person has your password. Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. I like that analogy though. It was really good.
Good. Yeah. So essentially I think that's how it works, because one of the people I studied with said that it's not surprising that we have these insights like what you just said. What is surprising that we don't have them more often, because we are all connected. And that, I guess, when we develop that sense, we will be having that more often. But I guess you have to develop it like any other kind of
We're
sense.
kind of conditioned not to have it though, as well.
Right. So coming back to where we are, so I'm surrogating for you. I'm reading your files and your system is reading my files. And right now the test for cross-crawl is switched on. So I get back to yes or no. Let's have a yes and a no. The system can resume working on a goal of calm and composed while driving. So say I'm calm and composed while I'm driving.
I'm calm and composed while I'm driving.
So you can see the muscle response is much stronger. It was a 0 in the beginning, and now it's kind of like, just a little mushy, but it's almost quite there.
Yeah.
And that is
I
confirmed
agree.
by your experience because you are reporting that you are much calmer.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So then we also review the emotional issue we had set up. And the emotional issue is I release escaping from myself through distractions and activities. So say that. I release escaping from myself
Release escaping from myself
through distractions and activities.
through distractions and activities.
And that is also much stronger. It's kind of like mushy, like the goal statement, but much stronger compared to the beginning. So what do you see? What difference do you see in that aspect of your life so far?
Yeah, it's can you repeat it again? I'm distracted through.
So you avoidance mechanism to deal with whatever needs to be dealt with by distracting yourself, by doing things that are, so for instance, people for whom this issue comes up, like they need to work on a particular presentation, but instead of that, they will watch TV, they will go make a sandwich, they will talk to a friend on the phone, because they are distracting themselves from whatever needs to be done.
That's definitely changed for sure. Yeah, I definitely, it's more of a just do it right away or you won't do it kind of mentality. So, thinking about some things that I have to do, and when I think of it, I'm more focused in on, if I don't get it done now, when am I actually gonna do it? And then it's kind of like, oh, well, I have 2 other things to complete today, so if I don't do this now, then it's not going to get done today. So that it's definitely changed.
All right, congratulations. So we'll come back to that later to see whether there's even more change, or I'll write it down. All right, so now that we have established that, so the system is ready, willing, and able to resume balancing for this goal. The answer is yes. So I go through the list of different techniques. And we'll see whether the response changes. So it changes on a list of more techniques. So I go to that list and then we test what we need to do from that list. So this is called emotional reset. I think we did that once. And this has to do with the brain function that controls responses of anger and fear.
It sounds familiar.
So I'll write it down. It's called emotional reset. And the reliable way of doing that is to put that, most of these modalities have like a hand signal. So I'm putting that in my short-term memory. So I have a switched off response, and let's see what makes it strong. So say fear.
Fear.
That doesn't change the response. So say anger.
Anger.
Okay, so we need to work on some aspect of anger. Is there something that is related to driving that makes you angry, or something related to your past that makes you angry, or something currently that makes you angry?
I'd say the one thing that did come up fairly recently was it was actually the reason why I started my YouTube channel to get good coaches and stuff. The very first coach I hired turned out to be not good.
Okay.
Very not good. So it was experience that, I not happy with. And so I blocked that person from social media and everything. I did every avenue that I knew of to keep that person away so I could kind of just process, get through, forgive and forget. And somehow they got an email through to me, and they were apologizing for what happened. And I was like, okay, well, not to say that your course wasn't worth anything, but it wasn't worth what you charged me. And I was like, if you really, you're trying to apologize, and I appreciate that. But I was like, if you'd like to make it right, you could refund me a little portion of this money, because you know that you're way overpriced. And they were like, nope, not going to do it. Like, just accept my apology. And I was like, no, I don't want to accept your apology then. Like, I don't accept your apology. So a little anger came back at that point, right? So I had made terms and come at peace with what transpired in that situation. And then out of the blue, almost 2 years later, they emailed me, and it kind of transported me, not all the way back, because I've grown in a lot of ways, but it brought up that anger again.
Do you feel that? So let's see what changes the response. So changes the response to strong. So anger with the coach, anger with people not taking responsibility for what they do. So does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So that will also relate to driving, right? Because while you're driving, some people really don't take responsibility for what they do, and they behave irresponsibly.
Sure. Yeah, but I did know there's a big difference, right? Like I do notice that I notice that about people, right? So, you can just, you're 16 years old, you can just go get a driver's license, they're like, oh, turn right, turn left, go straight, pull into a parking spot. And then they're like, cool, now you can drive. And yeah, but the difference between that and that was, I hired this coach to help me, like they had their stuff, and their snake oil looked nice and pretty, and I dove right in, and they got me. And whereas another driver, I really have no control over that. So there is an aspect of yes, but then there's also an aspect of no.
Yeah. So first of all, shake hands. I've paid for a number of programs that did not deliver.
Right.
I wasted huge amounts of money
Right.
on things that did not deliver. So I understand. So let me write it down in that form, and I'll tell you in a moment what you're going to be doing. The first part is I call it venting, which is really allowing the free expression of whatever you're feeling. If it's fear, then fear. If it's anger, it's anger. If you're angry at that person, then this is the place to really let it go and express it. And then the second part is we find a replacement for that. So even though I'm going to write it down in that form that changed the muscle response to strong, which is anger with people who don't take responsibility for their bad behavior, you can vent, expressing your anger towards that coach, and it will still have some kind of effect on how you respond to people who drive badly.
Yeah, I did already vent. I wrote a letter. I wrote it out. I rewrote it. I held it for like a week, and I did several edits to it. I did everything, and then I ended up sending it to that coach.
Well,
I haven't gotten a response yet, so I don't know if it's a good or bad thing.
The difference, it doesn't really matter, because you've done your part, but the difference between what you did and this process is that usually when you write a letter, you put that into words and you are kind of reasonable and polite as much as possible. But venting your anger is actually saying like, you stupid asshole, how dare you charge that much money for your program that doesn't work and just screwed me. So
Yeah.
you really allow yourself to feel and express the emotion without concern about how it's going to be received or whether it conveys your point, because there is no point. The point of this is to actually allow that emotion to blurt out everything that that emotion wants to say, because it's there. It's just essentially acknowledging and giving an outlet to something that's already there. So you're
Right.
not creating anything. It's just adding that, underneath that, solving a problem by writing a letter to someone is still unfinished emotional reaction. And very often that part of us wants to express, because everything, it's real. It just wants to be expressed. So that's what we do in that first part. So let me write it down, and we are going to be doing that while tapping on a meridian point. So I'll test that in a moment, which meridian you're going to be working on.
Okay.
Okay, so we have anger with a coach, and in generally speaking, people who don't take responsibility for the bad behavior. And let's see which meridian is going to help you get through that. Change of response. So the meridian that you'll be tapping, the meridian points are in the corners of your eyes. So you hold your thumbs and ring fingers together. That sends a subtle signal to your body that you're working on an emotional issue. You hold the other two fingers together and you tap in the outer corners of your eyes. And you just blurt out anything that, you still want to. If you were free to say things to this guy, what would you say? Or if you were free to yell at him, what would you be yelling?
Honestly, I feel I took the time and made sure that I had everything that I wanted to in that letter. I don't feel like there's any words that need to be spoken that already haven't been spoken.
So before you wrote that letter, what was because I appreciate that you took your time. This is what we are working on also. But what were the words that you wanted to say before putting them in a letter?
So this person calls them a specialist. They call themselves a specialist in self-love. And then they went to an event with me, a digital event with me, and they all of a sudden found out that they had suicidal tendencies and thoughts. And I was kind of like, it's kind of an oxymoron, a suicidal self-love coach. That's like saying, giant shrimp or jumbo shrimp or,
Right.
They kind of just don't make sense together. And I was like, how dare you coach me, about self-love when, can you really be a self-love coach and suicidal simultaneously? That doesn't make much sense. And
Right.
then not only that, less than a year later, while they were still dealing with those issues, they accepted a coaching award saying that they were an amazing coach. And I was like, well, that kind of falls short of the ball too. And yeah, so, there's just no bounds of what they wouldn't or wouldn't do. There's no sense of morality, like
Right.
realizing that you're suicidal. I would probably, if I was them, I'd probably stop selling my course and fix what's wrong before I resumed going back into business, and especially not accepting an award for being an outstanding coach
Right.
while being a living walking oxymoron.
Right. So let's see if you feel comfortable saying, listen, you guy, how dare you charge me for this program when you have your own suicidal tendencies unresolved?
Yeah. How dare you charge me and promise me things from a course that you don't believe in yourself?
You're a cheat.
Yeah, you're a cheater. You sell the snake oil.
Good.
You're not a real coach in my eyes. You're just a thief.
Right. Good. So I'm checking the points. They are much better, but they still need to be tapped a little bit. So is there anything else you have to say to this guy?
Oddly enough, it was a girl.
Oh, a girl. Okay. Wow. Maybe you can say, how dare you accept this award? This is a complete dishonesty.
Yeah. I think it's more stuck around how dare you come to me
Right.
and apologize, but not have the wherewithal to make it right. You just want me to accept your apology blindly
Right.
and not make the situation correct. Like it makes no sense. You have the capability and wherewithal to make it right, and you don't want to out of narcissism.
Mm. Right. So why don't you say, if you know you did the wrong thing, uh, the right thing will be to give me my money back.
Yeah. And yeah, yeah, you know you did the wrong thing, and the right thing would to be to return, not all my money, because I did find value in some stuff, but a significant portion. It should definitely be returned.
Right. So let's see if you can also, yawning is a good sign. Yawning
Oh,
usually
I gotta stretch my arms.
that's good too. But apart from that, yawning is a sign that your energy is moving into a more balanced direction. So there is still a tiny bit of an imbalance left. Good. So see if you can find that anger towards people who are irresponsible drivers. And even though logically you don't have any control over what they do, but nevertheless, and stay close to the corner. Maybe there is some way to express your anger.
Mm. You just sit there and stare through your TV set and sit on your phone or eat or do everything but pay attention to the road. And it is extraordinarily frustrating that you put other people's lives in risk for the sake of nothing that's truly important.
Good. Would that sound true to you if you say to them you're a moron or something like that?
Yeah, call him an idiot. I don't know if I'd say
Okay,
moron.
idiot. Okay. So I would, to be more tapping more directly into the anger, you could say, how dare you put other people's lives at risk for nothing that is of real importance.
Isn't that what I said?
It's almost the same thing, except for how dare you.
How dare you put other people's lives at risk for something that really doesn't matter? There's no text, there's no call, there's no food that can't wait another 5-10 minutes until you get to wherever you're supposed to go, rather than risking, who knows whose lives you're risking. by not paying attention. Idiot.
Good. And maybe that is also putting your life at risk.
For sure.
Right.
I
So
did.
you can,
I said that, didn't I? No.
no, not about you. It's about other people, and like who knows whose life
Oh,
you're putting at risk. And now maybe you can say, how
oh,
dare you put my life at
yeah.
risk doing these stupid things?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely putting my life at risk for nothing. Nothing important.
Okay. So I'm testing the point. The response doesn't change. That means that the points are balanced. We can stop tapping. And the second part is typically to program in a replacement. So are we clear? Let's get back to yes or no. Does the system need to program in a replacement? So what would you like to, going back to that coach situation, what would you like to, which we can then generalize into driving situations? What would you like to feel, do, and say about yourself or your behavior in the response to what they do? Or how would you like to feel about people like that or do about people like that?
I mean, I feel like what we did in the last session is working. I just need to practice more at it. Just being more self-conscious and self-aware. And like it's all about catching myself as it's happening, and I'm getting better at it. It's definitely something that I noticed from the last session that we had. So
So
it's what we're doing. What we're doing is working. I just need to practice more, right?
So are we clear? Is this the replacement? No, the replacement is for the system to practice more or to catch himself more. No, there is something even better. So if you let's say that you practice and this really becomes a habit, what will that be? What will that look like?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I have no idea how to answer that. I mean, it'll look like what's happening now, just better. I don't.
So what I'm thinking of, and tell me whether that makes sense to you. I own my feelings and express them privately, and I design effective communications to get my needs met.
Yeah, I like that.
So would that make sense? And would that apply to this situation, or let's say the situation with your people from homeowner association?
Yeah, I think that would apply in that scenario. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, because I think what you are saying is that you're better taking your time to think about the situation.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to take it to the degree where you are not allowing yourself to own your feelings and actually express them like you just did. Because people often go in that direction and they say like, oh, it doesn't matter, or I'm moving past it. But there is that little step in the middle that we just did, which is that direct expression of feelings, if you want to express it. Sometimes it's enough to just curse for 2 seconds and it takes care of it, but to do that privately.
Okay.
And then that frees up your mind to actually think about communication. And every emotional reaction has underneath, as the root of it, has an unfulfilled need.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to the coach, I feel like I did do that. In the first draft of my letter was not pretty. It was like cussing for like 2 minutes. And then over the course of a week, I went back and actually just took those words and made it a little more eloquent. So I feel like in that specific situation, I did have that. I had the,
Okay.
F you, like blah, 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 but then I toned it down, made it into something that's a little more easy to digest, and then actually sent it out. So I took that frustration, anger, and put some roses on it. And
Sounds great. So do you feel that this process needs to be reinforced by working on the statement I suggested, or is it something even better where you'd like to feel move even further, both generally speaking and also in relationship to driving, because that's our goal.
wait, so the two choices are,
So I'm just asking whether you would like to work on the statement we were just discussing, because you said you just did that.
yeah,
So we can work on that statement to make it more of a habit, or
I'm actually comfortable with that. We can move on.
okay,
I'm
so
good.
what will be another thing, and now specifically looking at the driving situation, so something else or more of the same, or something else that will help you keep your composure while you're driving and you are faced with all these idiots who are not paying attention to the road.
Well, it's funny, even now, the driving, it's really just the one-off circumstances, right? So like the person that was driving in this lane and I was here and they went in my lane, like that was something that you can't really predict because you're not moving, you're just going from a stop. And even in that situation, I feel like I handled it really, really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually comfortable with that too, to be honest with
Okay,
you.
great. So maybe, so what will, so to speak, what will put the cherry on top of the ice cream or on top of the dessert? Seeing yourself as a masterful driver, or
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we clear? So the system does need to program in a replacement, and the replacement could be for the system to be or see himself as a masterful driver. Okay, so do you prefer to say I am a masterful driver, or I see myself as a masterful driver? It
No,
doesn't
I am.
matter. I am.
I am. Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
so now let's find out how to do that. So again, are we clear? I always say are we clear because the muscle response often switches off for a number of reasons. So I always double check to make sure that we are on the right track.
Okay.
So let's get back to yes and no. This system needs to do it with temporal tap. It's better to do it with cross scroll and eye movements. So one of the ways to integrate new habits, behaviors, or way of thinking is to do cross scroll while you are repeating the statement and also moving your eyes. When you move your eyes in a complete circle, there was some research back in the 60s, I think, that discovered that when you move your eyes, you access different parts of your brain.
Right.
So when you
Yeah,
move your eyes, pardon?
yeah, that makes sense. I've learned a little bit about NLP, and the direction you look can coordinate to what you're thinking. You have like visual recall, you have, making things up. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes 100% sense.
So we don't specify the direction or why you need to look.
Right.
We just activate all of the brain by moving the eyes through a complete circle. And so you'll be doing three things at the same time. You'll be doing cross-scroll in all three directions. You're going to be slowly moving your eyes in these circles, and you're going to repeating that sentence, I am a masterful driver.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and stand up.
We're doing it live, huh? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting me on the spot.
That's part of the process.
All right. Okay. So we got
So
this.
you can adjust your camera a little bit so your face will be also visible. I don't know if you can do that, but if you can.
Now I don't want people to see my eyes. I don't like this now.
All right. Well, then go back to where it was.
I am a wait, I am what is it?
I'm a masterful driver.
I'm a masterful driver. I'm a masterful driver. I am a masterful Oh my god, my balance is hideous.
So start with the easy one.
Yeah. Wait, cross is this, right? The side to side, right?
No, I mean all three. So you need to do, let's start with the,
This one and then this one and then
not
this one.
This one, you cross.
Oh, okay. Okay. The first time you did it, I don't think you crossed.
No, when I do muscle testing, I have to do it on the same side. But when I do cross crawl, I always cross because that's cross crawl.
I am a masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. I am a
Good.
masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. Masterful driver. How many? A masterful
Just a while.
driver. I'm a masterful driver. I'm a masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. Should I just alternate?
Yes, so
myself?
now you can continue to do your eye movements, switch the direction of your eyes, and do the back movement. So touching your heel behind your back.
Yeah. I am a masterful driver. 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 Oh my God. I am a masterful driver. 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 And then the
Okay.
left.
So yeah, so now let's do
This one, right?
side to side. And let's do 2 circles in each direction while you do this movement.
Okay. I'm a masterful driver. I'm a masterful driver. Oh my God, this one's so hard. I'm a masterful driver. I'm a masterful driver.
That's why it comes up, because it's probably a harder movement for almost everybody.
I am a masterful driver. I'm a masterful driver. Oh my God. Masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. I am a masterful driver. Okay, I think I did 3 in each because I wasn't really sure if I was doing everything right.
Okay.
God, you just made me realize how uncoordinated I am doing these things.
That often happens when you learn something new that challenges different aspects of our coordination or other things. But
for sure. And it's funny because I've been an athlete my entire life. It's after my accident, obviously, I haven't had the same type, but man, does that make you just makes me feel like I'm drunk.
So say that sentence, say, I am a masterful driver.
I am a masterful driver.
And that is switched on. So what that means is that your body energy supports that, which means you can actually experience that without thinking about it. So when you see yourself as a masterful driver, what is the difference compared to how you used to drive or even how you drive now?
Just kind of more self-aware, right? Because, so I read this in a book a long time ago, and it kind of got reinforced because I'm reading a different book and it's the same topic, but like when you're riding on a motorcycle, you're really connected with your exterior. But when you're driving in a car, it's like you're staring at a TV screen. And people tend to get bored while watching TV, and they do other things, text on their phones. doing this, doing that. I've seen people eating, doing their hair. I mean, just tons of things. So, when I see that, you have like the realization that these people are just staring at a TV box, so you need to be a little more hyper aware of what's going on around you is definitely, and being on the motorcycle definitely helps with that. But all of that creates a masterful driver.
Okay, so you'll be more self-aware and more aware of what's going on around you.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I'm taking that out of short-term memory circuits. I'm checking the hand signal. And that doesn't change the response. So complete for emotional reset. And then we get back to yes or no. So let's have a yes and a no. Does the system need more balancing for this goal? The answer is no. The system is balanced for the goal. Good. That means that we can go back to our initial measurements and see how we are doing. So the goal is I'm calm and composed while I'm driving. So say that.
I'm calm and composed while I'm driving.
And that is switched on. So again, that means that your body energy supports that. So it's no longer a wish or a thought. You actually embody that. That means that will show up in your experience. The way you've been describing that it has been showing up will show up even more. And we check for the we'll check for the emotional issue. So say I release escaping from myself through distractions and activities.
I release escaping through myself through distractions and activities.
And that is now completely strong. So
let's go.
So I think going back to what you were saying earlier, which is that you see that if something needs to get done, you just do it.
Right.
So this is how I keep notes, and that's how you can have comparison to what changed. So this is the comment, the initial comment.
Okay.
This is your current comment.
Okay.
So
wow,
your initial comment was, I distract myself with manual tasks and physical labors, like fixing something. I try to avoid some truth and or answer or something that I don't want to do. So that was your initial comment. And now your comment is that if something needs to get done, I just do it. So I'll send you a picture when we finish with all the other measurements. I'll send you a picture so you can see, because usually people say like, oh my God, did I really say that?
Yeah, no, yeah, like listening to it, I can still like see the place that I was in that I said that. And now saying the other one feels so much more right. I guess that's the way to say it.
Right. And so the beauty of this method is that you just are there. You don't have to remind yourself, repeat statements, reflect on it, and do any kind of mental effort to say, oh, I should not distract myself. It kind of comes from within. This is what the beauty of the system is, that it activates your own inner intelligence, and we just move it back to the right track.
Yeah.
So it's no longer is an outside thing that you think you should do, but it's just something you just do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also looked at different components of driving. So initially, when we started and looked at how you feel about driving, you said, I feel frustrated. I used to feel confident, but these people have not been trained properly. So how do you feel about that now?
Oh, you don't have a statement?
No, it's not a statement. This is, when we set up the goal, we set up.
Oh, okay. I thought, yeah, okay, my bad. I thought you already had a little statement for it. So
So the statement is the goal statement.
Yeah.
I'm calm and composed while driving. So we were
Right.
looking at how do you actually feel while driving, and your answer was that you feel frustrated.
Yeah.
So how do
So
you feel now when you drive?
let's see. Let's say I am aware of what's going on around me and I take proper precautions to avoid unnecessary risk.
Okay, great. Good. Then next measurement that we did was, in addition to feeling frustrated, you said you also get furious because people do crazy things. It pisses me off. What are they thinking? So, do you get furious when you're driving?
So let's say for that one, let's say the only person's thoughts I can control are my own.
So, what does that mean? So what do you feel when people do crazy things?
That whatever they're doing is a cause of how they've been taught to do things, and I have no control over that. I can only control my driving experience, and if it's
So, what do you do? How do you control your driving experience when you're faced with the people doing crazy things?
get away from them if
Okay,
possible. Yeah.
look at that. So this is so I'm writing it down that way. I have no control over what people do. I get away from them as much as possible.
Perfect.
So again, you'll have a comparison side by side to see
Awesome.
what the difference is. And another thing you said, I become an aggressive driver. That was at that time. And you said, I'm impatient and less forgiving. And where are you with it now?
I am in no rush.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
So that means that you don't get
Yeah. I
impatient.
mean, that really solves everything. Realizing that I don't have to race this other person or, compete with them or anything, right? So I could just pull over and wait, or I can just slow down and wait, or whatever it is.
So this is a congratulations. That's a very, very dramatic change
It
to be
is.
able to not to feel impatient and not to feel like you have to do something, just pull over and wait. That's an amazing shift. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So then we also evaluated the level of stress that you had while you're driving. It was on a scale from 0 to 10, it was between 6 and 8. And you said, I feel charged, threatened, on guard. They can do another crazy thing. I sit more forward and more aggressively.
Yeah.
So
So
what is your stress level when you're driving now?
0 to 2.
Okay. I guess instead of sitting forward, you're sitting back.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Wow. So this is so dramatic. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm a believer in brain upgrade.
And it's going to get even better because now you programmed in this another level of being masterful.
Yeah.
So it will
Yeah.
be even better and easier.
Yeah.
So and it will, spill over to other areas of your life as far as being masterful. So you'll see.
Yeah, for
So these
sure.
are all the measurements. So the system, meaning you, is balanced for this goal. The answer is yes. So my protocol is to repeat the goal statement and emotional issue, just to, as we call it, close all the loops. So we repeat the goal, the emotional issue, and say, I release escaping from myself through distractions and activities.
The one we just did?
So you
Okay.
just repeat that one more time, because this is like closing that particular loop or closing that particular circuit.
I release what
Escaping
was it?
from myself,
Escaping from myself through distractions and
distractions and
physical
activities.
activities.
That is switched on. And then we repeat goal statement one more time and say, I'm calm and composed while I'm driving.
Calm and compose while I'm driving.
And that is switched on. So this balance is complete. So we get a confirmation. Yay! So how do you feel? First of all, how do you feel compared to the beginning of our session today? Is there a difference?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a little more lit up, a little more energetic, for sure.
Yeah. And how do you feel? I don't know if you remember, because that was a while ago, but if you go back to the way you used to feel, how do you feel now compared to when we started or sometime in the past?
So I don't remember all of that, but I do remember like certain instances of me driving and getting angry and frustrated, and like looking back on them, I feel like that, like I don't understand how that was me.
Wow, yeah,
That
that's
makes sense. Does that make sense?
wonderful. People often say that. Did I really do that? Did I really say
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and that's genuinely how it feels.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for all your help, man. This is so, it's so cool. It's so different. It's so, it's very holistic, and you're just using the body's own system to reprogram itself.
Right.
No chemicals, no drugs, no fancy things. It's just like very straightforward, just backed up by research, and just it's awesome. And
Yeah,
words, motions, and off balance dizziness.
that's right. So congratulations. This is quite amazing. And it only took 3 sessions, and they were spaced out over quite a long period of time,
Yeah, it was like
uh,
6 months.
which
Yeah,
sometimes is beneficial because it gives you
very
more
true.
time to integrate. So whether they are close together or over time, you can see that you made a complete dramatic shift to the point that you don't recognize your previous behavior. And this is the
Yeah, very
power of
true.
the system. And I hear that from my clients all the time.
Yeah.
I don't recognize that other person who did these other things.
Yeah, but I'm so pleased that we met, and I'm so pleased that I went through all this with you, even though it took forever. No, it really didn't. I'm really happy that you agreed to this, and agreed to help me out, and hopefully I can help you back twofold.
Congratulations. I'll be happy if you can help me. So I think you have, I think I sent you pictures before from our previous sessions.
You did.
But so I'll send you a picture of our today's session and also those first 2 pages, so you can see how things have changed, because this is so dramatic. I really, the words cannot express how much I want to congratulate you on this very profound change. So congratulations. I give you a big hug, and hopefully at some point we'll do that in person.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be
Yeah.
great, Paula.